Thieves in the night, nomads, wind chasers, and travelers, wholly despised by kindred society. What? Those aren't bones. They're wind chimes. Everything's gonna be fine. Relax. Hello, and welcome back to Masquerade Monday and a new lore video about everyone's favorite Deceivers, the Ravnos, the 10th in my series on vampire clans. The Ravnos move like the rumors that surround them, and kindred society burdens the Ravnos with prejudices of foulness, uncleanliness, and wickedness. With reputations like these, the Ravnos are considered outsiders even among those kindred who do not ally themselves with the sex. Many young Ravnos tend toward nomadic unlives, moving from one domain to the next or hiding on the fringes of established territories where they can escape if local kindred sentiment turns against them. This exacerbates their reputations as transients and vagrant scourges, but Ravnos vampires adapt well, often thriving in their marginalized role. In fact, many choose to make themselves into the predatory terrors that other kindred believe them to be. Many kindred believe that the history of Clan Ravnos begins in the First City, also known as the City of Enoch, a topic I'll be covering in an upcoming lore video about Cain. A second-generation vampire named Irad the Strong embraced a thief named Dracian. The main reason for Dracian's embrace was to be used by Irad as a spy against vampires of the third generation, who Irad believed were forming some sort of plot against vampires of the second generation like himself. Dracian, for his part, took to the plot like a fish to water. He was at heart a selfish man, and becoming one of the Cainites only seemed to deepen that trait. The details of this plot, and indeed the cities founded by these early vampires, will be discussed further in that lore video about Cain I just mentioned. The Ravnos themselves claim a different history than is established by the Naudists, those who study the history of Cain and his progeny, and cite an Indian epic poem entitled The Wounds of the Knight's Sword as their true historical origin. The poem details how angelic beings betrayed their original purpose and became blood-drinking demons. To balance them out, the gods brought back to life a man who had been wronged by these beings. This creature, named Zapathasura, was charged by the gods to exterminate the blood drinkers and restore balance to the world. In his quest for vengeance, Zapathasura embraced 5 Childer, and these 5 Methuselah are the ancestors of all the other Ravnos. They served Zapathasura for centuries in prehistoric India until they wearied of their sire's endless war and slaughter, abandoning him to his own devices as time passed. Zapathasura eventually fell into torpor and the clan restructured. The majority of the elders left India for the west, leaving behind the philosophy of Zapathasura, while some Ravnos remained in the subcontinent and reordered the clan along a more caste-oriented society. This divergence in the clan led to 2 differing developments of the Path of Paradox, a clan-specific path of enlightenment, which is an alternate code of morality which a vampire subscribes to in an effort to stave off the beast. The Path of Paradox, both the Eastern and Western varieties, are extremely complicated, but oversimplified, the Western Ravnos changed the path into a license for self-interest and wanton diableries without following the original tenets. This variety of the path and the associated culture of the clan led to the low reputation that the Ravnos had throughout Europe. The Western Path of Paradox ethics include reality is what one makes of it, existence is a lie produced by the dark dreams of the antediluvians, the farther one is from the antediluvians, the less real one is, alter reality as much as possible for Gehenna drives nearer every night, and always prank those who serve the antediluvians, particularly their Childer. The Eastern Path of Paradox, however, adheres heavily to the tenets of Hinduism, with things like karma and rebirth playing large roles. Their ethics include embrace only when absolutely necessary, destroy other vampires for they serve no purpose, erase karmic debt, and use deception to achieve your ends. Ravnos society in the Dark Ages was also influenced by the influx of the Roma people embraced into the Ravnos. Many Ravnos saw these Roma Ravnos as the equivalent of being clanless, but as time passed, the Roma Ravnos became the stereotypical Ravnos in the minds of Western kindred, and the Path of Paradox became their standard path as well, and by the 15th century, Western Ravnos were stereotypically seen as degenerates and vermin. During the Victorian Age, the Camarilla learned that not all Ravnos were like their Western siblings, and that there was a formidable Ravnos force in India. I made a video all about the Camarilla, which you can watch here. This discovery, of course, changed nothing in the way Western Ravnos were treated and seen in Camarilla society. Contributing to this, many Ravnos saw the harsh and strict Victorian taboos and rules as obstacles and constantly attacked and overstepped them in order to further destabilize the establishment. Many also used the blossoming interest in occultism and mysticism in order to trick and fool other kindred and mortals alike. In the modern era, the Ravnos have been almost entirely eliminated. Many kindred refer to the modern era as the final nights, the time before the inevitable arrival of Gehenna, the vampiric end of days. For the Ravnos, the final nights were exactly that, with the entire clan forever changing during a time called the Week of Nightmares. It was the week that Zappathasura awakened, and is generally seen as the beginning of the final nights. When Zappathasura awoke in the Ravnos homeland of India, it devoured all of its nearby childer in moments, and sent psychic ripples across the world and spirit realms. Psychics, madmen, and anyone even vaguely touched by the supernatural felt on edge or suffered visions and nightmares. The awakening of the antediluvian had a profound effect on all its childer, and even though the Ravnos discipline chemistry appeared to be stronger and more powerful in each vampire, it became nearly impossible to control. Fighting back successfully against their vengeful antediluvian, Zappathasura, with a dying curse on its lips, set off a psychic bomb, resulting in the Ravnos devouring each other in a cannibalistic frenzy. Zappathasura caused every Ravnos to feel an uncontrollable bloodlust, compelled to destroy or diablerize other members of their clan. This madness lasted for 4 days, and only a small number of Ravnos still survive, mostly of higher generation. Most outsiders were aware only that the Ravnos spontaneously developed incredible powers of chemistry for about a week, then proceeded to attack and devour each other. By the time the Week of Nightmares ended, there were perhaps 100 Ravnos still on this side of the final death, and none of them were of significant generation or power. Even before the Week of Nightmares, the Western Ravnos were a far-flung clan, with little to unite them and an open acknowledgement that each deceiver looks after their own interests first. That said, Ravnos often like to make a great show of clan camaraderie and cultural ritual, even though they know that promises made to one another are as fleeting as whispers on a night wind. Deceivers have been known to ally against common enemies such as tyrant Camarilla princes, but these alliances quickly fade once the threat no longer exists. The most common manifestation of this solidarity was through a form of retaliation called the treatment. The treatment was a vengeance attack where a mistreated Ravnos would contact fellows in the clan, who would then swarm upon the city where the original Ravnos was victimized. In general, a dozen Ravnos running amok could bring even the most experienced prince to the brink, and well-placed exaggerations about the impact of the treatment was the main weapon the Ravnos used to squeeze out what place they did have in Western society. The Eastern clan had much better organization with priests, military leaders, and other castes in place. It should go without saying, however, that since the Week of Nightmares, the Ravnos of either branch do not have any clan organization left. Many Ravnos take to the road instead of establishing permanent havens, dwelling temporarily among communities at roadside rest stops or even in vehicles. When a deceiver does put down roots in a domain, their permanent haven is often away from high-profile kindred territories. Havens in ethnic ghettos, industrial outskirts, and isolated geography are safest and most easily cultivated for the Ravnos. As previously mentioned, the Ravnos practice a unique discipline known as chemistry that convinces their enemies that they see things that do not exist. Chemistry does much to convince kindred that the Ravnos trade in lies and misdirection, but it can also prove to be a deceiver's salvation and ease the caprice of an outcast unlife. Being the travelers they are, or were, each Ravnos exodus had different views, values, and motivations, resulting in a multitude of branches, castes, or variants of the Indian main clan within Europe. Just a handful include the Bayat Mujrim, the Furi Dai, and the Ravnos Antitribu. The Bayat Mujrim is the Arabian term for the clan of deceivers, Mujrim literally meaning criminal. They were no more welcome in the Islamic world as their vices led them into many unwelcome confrontations with the Ashira, the sect in which Islamic vampires declare their faith in Allah. The Furidae are the Ravnos I mentioned earlier who claim descent from the Roma. Furidae, literally meaning wise women, are seers and collectors of lore within the clan. The Ravnos Antitribu differ little from their siblings outside the Sabbat. They revel in trickery and deceit. They too want to wander as they please, often joining nomadic packs. However, the Ravnos Antitribu have a traditional code of conduct for dealing with their clanmates that is in stark contrast to those Ravnos not in the sect. Namely, a Ravnos' word to their pack is the law. They follow the spit and shake rule on verbal agreements, but the rogues, as they are nicknamed, take this one step further. If a Sabbat member wants an agreement in writing, it will be signed in blood, the pen dipped in an open wound on the Ravnos' own arm. This binding in blood is as strong as the Valderie to the Sabbat Ravnos, and it can be broken only by final death. I discuss Valderie in my video on the Tsimichi, which you can watch here. Violating the Ravnos code costs the perpetrator a considerable loss of face with other Ravnos, which has been adopted by the sect at large. Few Sabbat Ravnos feel comfortable giving this guarantee to Sabbat members outside their clan, and most do get quite indignant should the other party suggest it. In the final nights, the Antitribu suffered the least of all of the branches of the clan, as many traveled in packs with various members of other clans and could be put down by their sectmates until their apocalyptic rages had died down. As with everything else in the clan, embraces differed between Eastern and Western Ravnos. Western Ravnos will either never sire or sire for companionship or safety, with little concern for how well a child will fare as a vampire. Ravnos rarely seek out childer actively, instead drawing from those whose paths they cross on any given night. Eastern Ravnos viewed the embrace as a religious event and important to their overall beliefs as long as it fell in line with their ethics and tenets. Due to their inherent clan weakness, the Ravnos are slaves to their vices, with each Ravnos having a specific vice ranging from plagiarism to mass murder. When the opportunity to indulge that vice is present, the Ravnos must indulge it. Vampire: The Dark Ages 20th Anniversary Edition distances itself from the stereotype of the compulsive criminality within the Ravnos by including other character traits as well. Their compulsions can range from beneficial ones like defending innocence or donating to the poor, to deviant ones like the aforementioned plagiarism or mass murder. According to Vampire: The Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition, these are some of the Ravnos' opinions on the other clans and factions. You can get into a lot of trouble if one of these bloodsuckers imagines you did him some awful wrong when all you were doing was checking out his girlfriend. There's no justice. People think we're the demons. They know how rough it is out there, and sometimes you can even convince them to give you a break. Gaudy, vain, and easy marks. Of course, they probably think that about us, too. Nobody cops that much attitude unless he's hiding something to be ashamed of. Be careful. You can either fool them or you can't. But they can't decide which one it is until they either take the bait or go berserk. Rat them out and you'll have a chance. They love being lied to, but hate it when someone tips them off that you've been lying. Tread carefully or these pricks will drink your soul and blame you for it. Nothing wrong with these guys that staking them in their coffins and setting them on fire wouldn't solve. I think these cocksuckers actually enjoy being hated by everyone else. Who else would set themselves up in the line of fire all the time? All the fancy costumes in the world don't mean you're not stealing or killing every time you feed, you fucking hypocrites. I've seen this movie before, and the ending is shit. Not usually a problem unless they start asking you to vote or bend the knee. Once the revolution's over and they're declaring themselves emperors, time to hit the road. Now I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the Ravnos? How would you feel if you were embraced into their clan? What clan do you think I'm covering next? I make videos multiple times a week and every Monday is Masquerade Monday, so if you enjoy what I do, please consider hitting that subscribe button. As always, a huge shout out to Ian Watson, aka Fun Aether, for his help with compiling the info for this video and for offering insight into Vampire: The Masquerade lore. These videos literally could not be made without him. Thank you so very much for watching, it means the absolute world to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!